TBC, what's the deal? So let me give a shout out to BoxingScene.com. I was on Boxing Scene and I seen an article. David Haye says Anthony Joshua is the fight I want, the fight the fans want. So I'm gonna read a quick little insert from the article, then I'm gonna speak on it. David Haye says, I want to get back in there as soon as possible. Haye told the Hawks B and Jacob show on TalkSport. I want the big fights. A fight with Anthony Joshua is what the fans want. I want to fight who the fans want me to fight. That's the fight I want, and I'm sure Anthony Joshua wants the same thing. Hopefully he realizes you have to fight who the fans want you to fight. He also went on to say, I've had some big British clashes and fought the best opponents around who the fans wanted me to fight. So hopefully he is cut from the same cloth and wants these big showdowns as well. Although it will be very risky for him at this stage in his career. I understand that. He's only had 15 fights. And he also went on to say, I'm a lot older than he is, but if he feels that he is set up to the task, then he has a solid challenge for him. I believe my speed and power will negate his superior size, youth, and strength. David Haye, David Haye isn't a dummy. He knows that if he's going to fight Anthony Joshua, he might as well catch him early. David Haye is what, 35, 36 years old, so he's not getting any younger. He knows that if he's going to fight Joshua, the best time is to catch him right now, like David Haye said, while he has 15 fights. Haye, he fought Chisora. How many fights did Chisora have? 18, 17, 18 fights? But I know Chisora, before going into the David Haye fight, he had fought Klitschko and Helenius and even Tyson Fury. So he was more experienced in his, just 18 fights going into the fight with Haye. Haye knows what he's doing as far as trying to entice a fight with Joshua. I heard Haye, there was rumblings about him making a comeback in the summer of last year before he even got in the ring with Demore. Like towards the summertime, they're talking about a comeback. I'd seen articles on Daily Motion and videos on Daily Motion saying that he was possibly going to come back and try to put an end to Joshua's unbeaten streak. So Haye has had his eye on Joshua for a while. Now Tyson Fury kind of put his foot in his mouth, and Fury, money can change anything. So let's get that out the way. But Tyson Fury has said out of his own mouth, if David Haye somehow becomes his mandatory, or he's not going to fight him, he said he would rather be stripped or vacate his title before he faces David Haye. And he's upset from the cancellations that David Haye had with him. So he's not liking that. He's still holding on to that. You know what I mean? So it's funny, though, because after that, Fury canceled on Ustinov, which was kind of ironic. But I think money talks and bullshit, walks 1,000 miles. So if the money was right, I think Fury would fight David Haye. But David Haye has his eyes set on Joshua. And now but I heard Joshua after his fight with Dillian White say that he isn't ready for world level competition. Now, he could have been a prisoner of the moment and just going off his initial feelings after his fight. But to me, you got to go with your gut feelings sometime. After the fight, if you really feel you're not ready for world level and you're telling yourself this in your head mentally, I don't care how much your team try to tell you, no, you are ready. If you don't feel you're ready as a fighter, I think you're going to hamper your chances of winning in the fight. Now, one punch can change anything. He can go in there and hit Haye with one punch and knock him out cold, but if it gets made next, I don't know if it'll be next, but if it gets made right away, I see David Haye beating him. I just think he's more experienced. He's has more of a championship pedigree, being a former cruiserweight champion and a WBA titleist, and he's been in there with more experienced guys, Klitschko and Chisora, and he didn't perform all that well with Klitschko. Some people still give Haye jokes about his toe and whatnot, and I still think David Haye right now, though, can beat Anthony Joshua just on his experience. Although, Anthony Joshua is huge, man. He has tree trunk arms, but punch for punch right now, Haye's going to hit you with something you don't see coming. He has very fast hands. I just don't think Anthony Joshua's ready for that right now. I don't think he's ready for that right now. If he's going to get in there with a speedy guy, he needs to get in there with a speedy guy that probably doesn't have as much pop just to get his feet wet, or at least have those type of guys in training to really world level type guys, though, to really get him ready, because get in there with a speedy guy like Haye, who likes to throw flurries and can, fight with his hands down. Although his style didn't look the same as his previous fights before this comeback with Demore, because he would usually fight with his hands down and try to bait you in and counter you with hooks and power shots. I don't know if he wants to play that game, being that he put on 17 pounds, and he looks good with the 17 pounds, but him trying to catch and roll all of Anthony Joshua's shots from a counter position. I don't know if he wants to play the number game like that. But I would think he would be able to do it, because I still think that Joshua right now is explosive, and as young as he is, I still think he is somewhat of a project. But I mean that respectfully, though, man. He is a guy that's learning on the job. There's, you can argue a guy like Tyson Fury, or not Tyson Fury, but Deontay Wilder. I heard Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis allude to, they didn't say this, but this is what they were, if you can read between the lines, they said that pretty much a champion in learning. Like, he's champion, but he's still green. You know what I mean? So they didn't think he had the experience, but he is gaining experience as he goes along. You can learn on the job. Now, I know some of you have had employment where you went in there and learned on the job. I've done that before. I've got into an interview, never had no experience, and my resume and just, my interview got me the job, and I was learning on the job. Because I didn't have no experience, but it's a hard thing to learn on the job, boxing is, so, but I do think that David Haye knows what he's doing and trying to get a fight with Joshua. He knows that he's green and he can exploit some things. So even if this fight is made at the end of the year, unless they make a great fight for Joshua, or maybe two good fights, even if it's a Dillian White rematch and he goes in there and, shuts Dillian out without any blemishes, like what happened in the second round, then maybe, and I see he polishes some things like his footwork and just trying to move his head, because with no head movement, I don't care. You can say what you want about David Haye, man. If you don't move your head and you have no jab, that's a jab that is complicated to surpass, I think David Haye's going to catch you if you don't move your head, because he punches too fast. Even with the added weight, I still think he punches too fast for somebody to have, to come in there and move their head the same way a novice would at this level. I see David Haye winning that fight. Now, if Haye's trying to get this fight, 2018 or something, and Joshua has progressed, even if he has a loss, but he's progressed as a fighter and becomes more sharper and moves his head and learn how to control the fight with his jab, I don't think Haye would have a chance. But this version of Joshua, the guy that's still a prospect, but although could be a diamond in the rough type of project, has a lot of potential. I think right now, though, David Haye beats him in this fight. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about David Haye versus Joshua immediately, right now, in a few, 4 months, or even later in the year? What do you think about this fight, 2016, even if it's later in the year? What do you think about this fight? Who do you think will win? Do you think Joshua's too green right now, or do you think that I'm underestimating Joshua and he is one of the top contenders? YTBC, I'm out.